Hey, everybody. Sorry if people have been waiting in the chat. We'll kind of like chat away there, weren't we?
Yeah, better late than never.
Oh, God, I can't remember what we're talking about now, but
weather.
Oh, yeah, weather, bad weather. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, we're back. And yeah, so Hefty won't be here tonight, obviously, because it's his brother's last day with him. So,
he's fired now.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna fire him next week. He's not Hefty.
Oh.
But no, he's got to spend time with his family, so that's more important.
No, this is more important.
See, I'm not the one who fires people. It's Amy. She gets the final say.
No, listen. I think you had part in the when I got fired, dude. I think you were the mastermind behind it. No, I think Amy. Well, I don't know.
It was her idea.
No.
Yeah.
It was your idea. You said,
Jump your goal.
just talk about the thing. Anyway. Oh my God. Anyway, so yes.
Remember, you're going to be sleeping out there.
Have you finished?
Yeah, I'm finished now.
Did you want to get in your house or not? Exactly. What are we doing tonight? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So tonight we're doing, obviously, the Devil That Made Me Do It case, also known as the Devil in Connecticut. It's had many names. Mm-hmm. I actually only found out about this about a month ago. Sorry, Nick?
The Demon Murder case, that's another name for it.
Yeah. It's had many, and I only found out about this about I'm so worth it. It's good to see you, Jeff. Yeah, I only found out this about a month ago when I saw it. It was on Discovery Plus. So you guys, this is what obviously where my knowledge of it comes from. So guys, you can literally just search it, the Devil That Made Me Do It, on Discovery Plus, and this case will come up. So basically a quick overview before we get into the nitty gritty of it. So basically it was a trial of Arne Johnson back in 1981 for the murder of his landlord. Now, before we go into it, so basically he stabbed his landlord to death, like completely viciously to death, and just fled the scene. And when it went to court, his defense was that he was possessed. And he had no recollection of the event at all. And that's where it starts, and it just gets crazy from there. Now, if you guys, I know, Kerry, you know about it. Do you know? Yeah. Did you see the same one as me? I think you did, didn't you?
I've watched the film, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, Nick, you definitely know about it.
Yes, I've actually known about this case, believe it or not, for like probably almost 12, 13 years, actually, even before the movie came out. So I know very well about that. Actually, going back to that was actually not one of the first cases during my early days of studying the paranormal.
Oh, so even better then. Yeah, you'll be all over. Marty, you've heard this one before, have you?
There's no sound coming out of him.
Marty, you're muted.
I muted my mic by accident. No, I've heard of the case from you guys. So, I mean, I was reading up on it today to kind of try and catch up on it. And then the movie is actually, it's a Conjuring 3, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a Conjuring 3. And that's basically the case, this case that we're going to talk about. So, yeah. I haven't seen it yet. I just don't have time to sit and watch it. Anytime I sit down and watch TV, I'm like sleeping 15 minutes later. So
we're the same.
You're in a different room.
Oh yeah, you're in a different room.
Yeah, I was going to say you're in a different room this time.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys saw the other room that we did with the gaming room. So now I got kicked out. I kicked myself out of that room. So now I'm just kind of traveling to different points in the house to figure out what works.
We'll be in the toilet next week.
No, you already experienced that with Adam.
How you doing? He's in the chat. Hey, how you doing? What's your news? Hello, all in chat. I can't see. How you doing, Heft? Yeah, go and have fun with your brother, dude. Don't worry about us tonight. Yeah, it's great. But yeah, this case, you've got to watch the thing. Amy hasn't watched it yet.
No, I need to watch it.
But that I put it on. I saw it and I thought, is it just gonna be another one of these? Like, okay, then all right. But it is crazy,
isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the way they did it as well.
I mean, the way how they did it, and I already knew this for a fact even before this film was going to be made, that when they were going to focus on this case, the first thing they said was, unlike the first two movies, I mean, first off, they said because the first two were set in the 70s, they were going to make this one, for the 80s. And also, this was not going to be considered a haunted house film like the other two films were. It starts off that way, but then it becomes, hence its name, more of a murder case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so basically, so what happened? So the idea of this, the whole original, you have to go back. Is it 8 months, 9 months before the actual murder took place, something like that? So it goes back. It's the Glatzel family, and their 11-year-old son David was plagued by a demon. He went to the idea is he went to this house of his, I think it's his auntie or something. My facts might be slightly wrong. One, I'm tired, and two, I've got a really shit memory. But so basically, he went to this house, and he had a bad vibe about this house, and he's 11-year-old, so 11-year-olds shouldn't even really be thinking that kind of stuff.
Right.
And he goes into this room upstairs, and he said that I think it's an old man came up to him and gave him a warning. What was the warning? Gave him some sort of warning.
Well, it didn't necessarily more like warn them. I mean, I think the house actually, I think they were renting, along with his sister and Arne Johnson. Yeah. And while he was helping out with the room, he said there was this old man that pushed him. Now, the previous part about this man that supposedly this kid's name was David, I guess. That he said it looked like a normal old man, except the most disturbing feature about it was his feet. Is that he didn't have feet. He had hooves instead.
Yeah. Straight off the bat like that. He's saying he had hooves, and it's crazy. And so he even refused to even go back in the house. He refused to go back to the house. He didn't want it. And then, of course, he goes back home, and he kept on saying to his parents that he's coming. This man's coming to this house. I can see him.
How old is the boy?
11 years old. And he said, I can see him coming. He's on his way.
Yep.
And they were like, he's just a kid. He's
flying, supposedly.
Yeah. And this started to escalate. He started to have fits. He started to make strange noises and see things. And he said that when the demon actually arrived at the house that he said he could see, he actually went into severe fits where they thought he was going to die. They had to hold him down because he was having this fits that severe that he could have killed himself. This is an 11-year-old boy. He shouldn't even be thinking.
I also found out that he had a learning disability. Now, I don't know if it was autism he had, but this was someone who, especially who had a learning disability at only 11 years old. You never would expect someone to, have such violent attitudes at times.
Yeah. And they got involved with Ed and Lorraine Warren, obviously. So they found out that they were specialists in this sort of thing, and then they invited him over, and they did conclude that yes, this child is being tormented by a demon. It's not necessarily possessed him yet, but it's tormenting him.
Did he live in a happy household?
Yeah. Happy religious house. They're saying anything before this, they had no paranormal stuff, nothing.
Did you say religious?
No, not at all. This was their idea. The idea was because Debbie Glatzel was just a few months away from getting married to Arne Johnson. They were ready to, kind of move out of their parents' house so they could live an independent life. And David decided to basically help out, kind of somewhat live that at an early age. But things really changed once they tried, renovating things in the house.
Yeah. And it wasn't as well the house that they moved into where they saw this old man, the previous owners, because they went back to the previous owners saying, look, is there ever been reporters before? And the lady that lived there before saw the same thing in the same room, the old man. And now it didn't push her, but she saw it as well. So it's not like this boy isn't lying. The scariest thing about this old man that I think probably the previous owners probably may have said too was it would also change its appearance. So during the day, it was an old man with hooves and would wear this jacket, I think. But according to what David said, at night it turned into a beast, which he said it was had scaly skin, it had these horns, pointed ears, these sharp teeth, claws. I mean, it was all the typical descriptions of a demon. And the kids, back then they didn't have like
Yeah, but if he
like the internet or
no, but if he grew up in a religious household, they would have known about the devil.
yeah, he knows about that, but he wouldn't know the kinds of like that terror that demons do, like the things that like freaking words tonight. You know, when they like torment you and stuff like that. The kid wouldn't know.
Like an attachment.
Right.
Yeah, the attachments and stuff, and they're trying to, like saying, he said it's trying to break in and stuff. It's trying to get through the door, and they were like putting crosses on the doors and stuff to try and just appease this kid. They didn't believe it. They're just trying to appease him to make him feel better, and he was adamant that this demon was going to get him. Yeah, so Ed and Lorraine Warren obviously went there, and they was like, yeah, there's something going on here. There's actual recordings. So if you watch the video, there's recordings of when this boy's having this fit. He's speaking in a voice that is definitely not his.
It's not a child's voice, is it?
Yeah. You've heard it, and he's like cursing like some of the words that they said that he shouldn't even know, and it's not him at all. And you hear the voice, and it's not his. That's not a child.
No.
Like even if he tried to put that voice on, it's crazy the stuff that's coming out of his mouth, like and. But yeah, so they go away and they say like, look, we'll be back, try and do this and that, and to calm it down. Eventually, they do actually get an exorcism to come in, to perform an exorcism. Now, at this point, this is when Arne Johnson did something that you never do.
Yes.
You never.
Oh, guys, don't do this.
I don't know.
No.
Yeah. He challenged the demon, saying,
there you go then.
Don't take him, take me. Yeah.
And so basically, he just invited it to him.
Yeah.
And that's where things changed.
Yeah, now
and to make matters even worse, there's one part of the story that was not featured in the movie, but if you look at some of the real documentaries about this, was when things started getting progressively worse, David then said, because he started calling this thing the Beast. Yeah. He then later said that the Beast started calling more demons to attack him, so they were attacking him together, and they demanded to give them his soul. So that's when Arne finally had enough and said, you want someone, take me instead.
Yeah, wasn't it like was it 13 demons that the devil brought with him?
I think it was like about 40 demons, I think, supposedly entirely. There was a lot.
Yeah.
It was like a whole swarm of them.
Because it was Lorraine, because she's the medium that can see these spirits. Yeah. She said that she could see up to I think she was like 40 something. She could see these what do they call them? Legions, isn't it?
So we say they all attach themselves to him.
To the house.
Or to the house.
The boy wasn't under full possession yet. He was he would come, I think. Yeah. Right. Yeah, so like this is why they said that they could still help, but then that's when they thought they even said Ed and Lorraine Warren they've never seen a case like this where they didn't necessarily say it was the devil straight away, but a demon of that power could bring along up to 40 other demons with them on this one household. It said you need an extremely powerful demon to bring them along. That's why then it started the talk of, is this potentially the devil? And I'm sure at some point, did they confirm it? I can't remember.
Arne Johnson at one point, shortly after he made that message to him saying to come take him instead. And again, this wasn't featured in the movie. It was in one of the documentaries. At one point, he had to leave the house for an errand one night. He's trying to start up his car, and the car is stalling for no particular reason. Next thing he knows, he looks up and where the woods are at, and suddenly a dark figure appears out of nowhere. And he said it was horrific looking. And the last thing he remembered was that it lifted up an arm and then pointed to the tree. And then next thing you know, the car just took off. And fortunately, the car stopped before it hit the tree. So he almost got into a serious accident. Next day, that's when they went to an exorcist. And he asked, well, what did it look like? And as Arne said, he looked just like the devil. I mean, he said he had never been so scared in his life.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we go on, I just thought of a question. Kerry, so obviously you do all your mediumship and your readings and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you ever see these kind of things or sense the presence of these evil entities?
In In my readings, never. You know, I work with the light and I'm very well protected, so I don't deal with anything like that. There was one time that I felt very uncomfortable. That wasn't in a reading situation. But this case that we're talking about is very, very rare. It doesn't happen often.
No.
Hauntings happen often, but not these sort of devil sort of hauntings. They're very rare.
We don't know really. I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, do you know, like, is it because, like, obviously you'll say you work more with the light? Does that like block those things out? And
To do this, but it's like before I do a reading, I always do my own prayer. I ask for protection, because it's like opening your front door and then leaving it open and then going to bed at night wide open. You wouldn't do it, would you? Because it's inviting whoever off the street. So I only ask to work with people from the light, and I'm very well protected from my guides. So it's like a doorkeeper, like a bouncer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Whereas maybe we need to start doing that a bit more, actually closing.
But this is the thing, like, this is where me and Amy are very polar opposites. Like, we are light and dark very much, and I'm not some like devil worshipper by any means. I don't do anything. I'm interested in that side of things, and I want to explore that side of it. I want to see it. And
demonology side.
As long as you're careful, you just you know
learn your protection.
You wear what you ask for. That's all you can.
Right.
Like, I would never, by any means, like, I would never deliberately ask for something negative or bad to happen, or I know how far to take it. But then, like, the whole thing, like leaving the door open, I'm quite happy to like start a Ouija board and leave it and see what happens. But
at the moment, I mean, honestly, we laugh, but this is serious. Like, at the moment, you haven't been scared enough, and that's the thing.
Right.
There's I hope there's not going to be a point, but there could be a point where we, as a group, are going to have problems on our hands, because we're all going to have to go and try and maybe find some outside help for you, because it would be beyond me. Let's put it that way.
I won't even let it get to that.
Thank you, Amy, because I'm just like,
no.
There was a person my mom investigated with. He was the skeptic of the group, but he was the one when on their investigations, he would push the envelope, and he would like really just try to be nasty and really provoke spirits. He's the one that would get punched, kicked, scratched. Like, he would always have marks on him, but he was a skeptic. He still never believed. He was getting punched and pushed by things that weren't there, but he still was like, there's a reason for it.
My gosh.
Yeah,
I'm not that bad.
So it's like he was asking for it, but he still didn't believe it. It's so weird, but it's. I
mean, I provoke, but I'm never.
When he means provoke, though, he means like tap on the wall. It doesn't mean like. I don't ever disrespect like the other side, or I don't ask for. I slap him.
Nasty things to happen to people or to myself. But I asked for, I will, if I, like, when we went to the poltergeist house and we're in what they call the demon room, apparently. And I was like, well, if there's a demon here, then like show yourself. I was like taunting it, sort of thing, like trying to get it to do something. And then that is when I did come home, and I had like my whole back was like sunburnt, like red.
And that's why I told him to pack it in.
So yeah, it does happen. I mean, but yeah, anyway, we're going down a tangent here, aren't we? But
no, but I basically said we need to start actually closing properly and saging more.
Yes.
We stop doing that, and we need to start doing that.
We do, but then there's like
we need to we need to start doing.
But then I want to buy I like when we look at dolls, because obviously we're always looking at trying to buy new dolls. I always look for the negative ones, the ones that look evil and stuff. Amy looks for the ones that are like pretty and nice. And the little children or something, don't you? Where I like the evil clowns and stuff like that.
But I'm a child-centered.
Oh God! People watching are like, Jesus Christ, what the hell?
Like, what the hell are we talking about?
Anyway,
you're gonna end up making people, lose people watching us.
But so everything I don't do. But everything Amy does or Kerry does and Nick then do that. Don't copy
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Let's see
Get a roast
look
roast.
at what Al said.
Yeah.
So will Tom get a roast from Amy tonight, or will he be actually inactive? Stay tuned for tonight's episode.
We're not that bad, are we? Anyway. Oh my god. So I don't even know where we got to anyway, but
Just go back to
the
the
demon's
story.
there and
Yeah,
so
the exorcism was occurring.
yeah, so the exorcism was occurring and he challenged it, and it's like, you just don't do that. And the boy was okay. Like after this, he came round and he finally was speaking normally. He said they've gone, and they were like, "Oh, okay, things have settled." Sorry, Nick. Yeah.
There is one other note to add to this. Actually, two notes was, I mean, before things somewhat kind of became back to normal for David, I'm actually looking at the case right now. There was also one other issue that in the case with, after receiving a prognosis of multiple possessions from the Warrens, David was then subjected to 3 lesser exorcisms, and that during one of those, Lorraine asserts that David levitated, ceased breathing for a time, and even demonstrated the supernatural ability of precognition, specifically in relation to the manslaughter Johnson would later commit. Now, the other note was, I don't know if this happened right after the exorcism, but during, I guess you can kind of say, one of the breaks when, David finally had a chance to kind of, have a break before he was attacked again, was at one point he says the beast, he went back to the well. And they're like, "What well are you talking about?" And he's like, "The one that's behind the house." And he's like, "We never saw a well in the back of the house." He's like, "Yes, there is. That's how he gets into our world." Now, they decide to go to the house to investigate. Now, again, another part that's left out of the story. Around the time when they were about to move out of this house to head back to their parents' house, Arnie's mom was about to move in with them. But when they saw that they were packing up, she was furious because she had just moved out of her apartment building. She didn't believe it or anything like that, so she took over the house while they moved back. But when they came back to find this well, they found the house completely deserted. They assumed that Arnie's mom may have been so terrified by the demon that she left without even telling them. While Debbie's checking around the house, Arnie goes to the back of the house to see this well that, David's been talking about. He goes further out into the woods, and then right there in the center of the woods was this well. And if that wasn't enough, he then looked up, and once again he saw a black figure just standing there, and he could actually see the features this time. He said it was the beast, supposedly. He said that the eyes were dark pits. It drew him in, and that was the last thing he said he remembered, was staring into its eyes. And that was actually probably one of the first brief moments where he was starting to come under demonic possession.
It's crazy, like how like the things that happen, and when you guys watch it, obviously you watch it. If you guys do watch it, that listening, like the story when they go into it, obviously they'll go into a bit easier than we do. We're all over the place tonight, but it is crazy, like the things that start happening, and you think, is he faking it? But then the things that, like you say, happen, he says that are there, and they go and check, and it's documented. Like this stuff happened, and there's testimonies from Ed and Lorraine, from the whole family, and it's nuts. But yeah, so several months after this, obviously, so when things settled down and it got back to normal, Arnie and
demon was basically buying its time, gaining its energy again.
Well, Arnie and Debbie were living in a rented apartment, and they were very friendly with their landlord. They would regularly drink with their landlord on nights, or go out to parties and stuff. It was great. And one night, obviously, the night of the murder that happened, they were having a few drinks, and Debbie was saying, "Oh, it's time we should go to bed." And they're like, "Okay then." But then the landlord, whose name is freaking gone, I've lost his name.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, Nick. Where are you, Nick?
I'm looking for who the hell was it? Oh, Alan Bono.
His last name was Bono or something like that.
Alan Bono. There we go. Anyway, so this Alan was like he got quite like argumentative, saying, "No, it's not. We need to have more drinks. You're not going." And he got hold of Debbie.
Why would a landlord do that?
He got hold of Debbie and said, "No, we're going to have more drinks." This is when things escalated. Now, all of a sudden, this is in Debbie's testimony, saying that Arne, all of a sudden, they got aggressive and were arguing with each other. And she said, then all of a sudden, Arne switched, and she said the look on him wasn't him. She said, like, his face, his demeanor, it was not him. Arne pulls out a flip knife out of his pocket and stabs Alan to death. I don't know how many times he stabbed him, but it was like severe. He meant to kill him. And then he just fled the scene. Debbie phoned obviously the police and the ambulance and to come say, look, my partner's just stabbed to death our landlord and that. They actually found him, Arne, several miles away, just sat by the side of the road. The ambulance crew found him. And he was just sitting there like he was lost. He didn't know where he was. He was obviously covered in blood. And they said he had no recollection of what just happened. He was totally bemused. And even the paramedics said that when they obviously got hold of him, he didn't fight or nothing. He was just like, what's going on? Where am I? What's happening?
Yeah.
And then obviously that's when the police come and arrested him.
They do say though, when you see red, you do almost forget about what you've done.
Yeah.
And also,
you're just in shock. You're just in shock when that happens.
Yeah, it's like you black out.
It was a bit much though to just go stabbing him because
this is it. Like she said, it wasn't. Arne was never somebody who would do this kind of thing. He wasn't an aggressive person. He wasn't.
Did he have a stressful job? Was he under a lot of pressure?
No, and he never even had a criminal. I mean, no one had a criminal record in his family. So he was a pretty straight up guy. Never had trouble with law enforcement before this. I mean, for David, he was like a good older brother like figure for him. So he was a good guy.
And even Debbie said, like, when she said it, as soon as it happened from the police, she's saying, yes, Arne killed him, but she said it wasn't him from the get go. She said it wasn't him.
That was a total cover up. Come on.
Whose side you're on?
Amy's not buying this story at all. He's got
a conspiracy.
I'll bring up a picture for people so they can see who we're actually talking about.
It was a nutcase.
No. There's that view of it. So that's Arne.
Picture, yeah.
There he is.
Yeah.
Look, he looks like a nutcase.
That's Arne.
Yeah.
Face, that is
I can see that, I guess.
Yeah.
That's
his face.
That's him going, I didn't do it, weren't me. Wash his hands of it. Come on.
Well, and that's one of the things, like with this case, like, because I think he only served 5 out of 20 years after this case.
Yep.
How many other people said the devil made me do it when they murdered somebody?
Yeah,
exactly.
Like they pleaded that case, you know what I mean?
There were a few cases before that too, even like with almost 10 years earlier, even with the Amityville horror murder case. That was almost the same thing. They said the devil made them do it.
It's like the old saying about like my dog ate my homework. That's why I do homework. Come on.
Amy's heard all the excuses.
Like, I think the difference was, I think now I think about like the differences. The thing that's so much different, I guess, like let's say for example, you compare it to the Amityville murders, was that Robert DeFeo Jr. was alone when he committed those murders. There were no witnesses to this.
Yeah.
This whole other case with the demon murder case, there was a witness, and that was Debbie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as soon as that obviously happened, the Glatzel family phoned Ed and Lorraine Warren, said what had happened, and immediately Ed and Lorraine Warren defended Arne.
Yeah, because they went to court with that.
Yeah,
they
went to him, right? They testified for him and stuff like that in court.
Yep.
Yeah, and they didn't have to. They could have literally said,
they got paid hush money.
we was involved with this. Look, we don't know.
They got paid hush money.
Freaky. See what I mean? We're like freaking Dumb and Dumber.
Well, Amy can't watch a film.
I'm practical minded. Come on. He just didn't want that extra drink.
We're supposed to be on the same level.
He didn't want that extra drink.
We're supposed to think the same.
The same.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so it went to court, and obviously the defense lawyer argued the case of possession. But the court ruled that the defense of that was infeasible because it can never be proven. Being under possession can never be proven. So they basically said you cannot use it as a defense.
Can you imagine if you can get like a detector? Essence, I could detect you had the devil in you.
Finished.
What's a lie detector?
You're just gonna bomb my whole thing on. You freaking ass. Should I just leave?
No.
Do you want to carry on?
He did levitate, though, didn't he, in hospital?
Sorry?
He levitated.
Yeah, he did levitate in front of all the nurses and doctors or something.
Yeah.
Isn't that correct? What I saw?
I think so.
All right, there you go.
There was some witnesses.
Yeah. So
That's a bit more proof. Did he bleed blood?
oh god. Anyway, so I'm completely lost around the freaking hour right now. But yeah, so he went to court and he got charged in the end with manslaughter of the first degree. And was supposed to serve a 10 to 20 year sentence, but like you said, he only served 5.
Right.
Because of his defense, because of good behavior, I suppose.
Why 10 to 20? Why was it not a definite?
That was life then. 10 to 20 years. Well,
Why
for
would-
manslaughter anyway.
Why wasn't it 20? Like, why
It was
wasn't it?
manslaughter. It wasn't
Because it wasn't murder. He got manslaughter, not murder.
So
So why not just say 10
that's why I
years?
didn't have a life sentence out of this.
Yeah. So 20 years is your maximum sentence. So they say you're eligible for like parole in 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But he only served 5.
Well, hang on a minute. So
Yeah.
it's gone from 2010 to now 5.
That's why they say, like, isn't it called over there? You call it, is it 25 to life?
Why not just serve?
So
1 year?
Yeah.
your minimum term is 25 years. You can
But
get
they'll
out.
also, what they'll do is they'll give you, depending on what you did, sometimes they give you 3 life sentences.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
isn't one enough? Because you're only going to live
Yeah.
one life. You're going to come back. They're going to serve you again. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen
It's
seen
like-
cases where, you guys are. This one guy got like 130 years in jail. Guy was already 40. Like,
There was
you're not
another
going to
guy
make
that
it
got-
until you're 170.
You never
It's just not gonna
know.
work.
Yeah. There was another guy
You could
that-
freeze his
Why
body.
don't you just say you're spending the rest of your life in jail? That's it.
Yeah, I mean, there was
Sorry.
another guy who got like 10 life terms. Well, I think it was actually a serial killer, but he got like 10 life terms out of this. Like,
Yeah.
how are you gonna live 10?
I think one's
life
enough.
terms?
I mean,
Basically, they should say you're only going to leave in a box. You're never going to leave.
Right.
Yep.
You're gonna leave during labour.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Through death. You're gonna do labour and then you're gonna die. That's how
Oh, you're going to
live.
work you to death.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
I wonder where we're going with
That's
this
what I
then.
meant.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah,
Why does he only serve 5 in the end?
Good behaviour.
Good
No,
behaviour.
I think it's a combination of like the good behaviour, the case of like
It was the devil.
the defense, and
Yeah.
how everybody. I think even the family of Alan who were murdered, who was obviously murdered. They, in the end, I think were on Arnie's side. They did start to agree with what happened and why it happened. Then they didn't hold any animosity towards it in the end. I'm pretty sure that's what.
right.
And all this eventually built up, and they said, "Well, he's going to be released then."
So
And
it's
it
kind of
is.
the same thing when somebody pleads insanity. When they do something and they plead insanity, they get either a lesser sentence and then they have to go for help and do all these other things besides spend time in jail.
Yeah, same sort of thing. Now, this is obviously when you watch the documentary. This is the one off Discovery Plus. This is Arnie on the left,
Yes.
and
He
that's
looks-
Debbie.
He looks crafty. Look at his eyes.
Now, when I was
Sounds
watching this,
Real. I didn't watch this.
when you watch this, you'll see obviously these two are the ones that have been interviewed throughout the whole documentary. And he, at the start, I didn't even know this was the guy who did the murder, but eventually you find out he's the one who committed murder.
But look at his.
We're
Look at
giving it
Yeah,
away
that
now.
was that was the show. That was the episode of A Haunting, and that was actually where I discovered this case. The only thing was, I mean, understandably, they only had a limited time, but they weren't able to talk about the murders. I mean, the murder that was committed by David. I mean, Arnie, because they were focusing more on David's case.
Yes. Yeah. And like, I think as well, from when he was in prison, I think they got married while he was in prison, these two.
Yeah, they
Like,
were.
she defended him throughout, and she said and she actually married him while he was in prison. She knew it wasn't him who committed murder.
Look at his expression, and what does that tell you? That tells me I got away with murder.
What, the smirk on his face?
Yeah, look at it.
This is like 15 years after he's come out of prison.
Yeah, the smirk I
Or
got when
whatever.
murder. I'm getting money off of this.
No,
now.
you actually. Well, I don't know, but anyway. No, he does actually say like he's very remorseful, but even to this day, he says he still cannot remember what happened.
Right.
He's got no recollection whatsoever.
That's a funny shaped
head.
Oh,
Yeah, he does. He does
Oh my
appreciate it.
god.
Oh my god.
A nut. For a
Sorry.
forehead.
A nut.
A nut, yeah.
They think a nut is totally different to what we think a nut is.
Oh.
Yeah,
What?
I
What
think.
is it?
Anyway, let's not even go.
I lost it for a second.
I don't know. Leave me alone.
This show is going so many different directions.
Yes,
Like it goes one way, then goes another.
Time as well. It's hard work.
God. Where were we at now? I don't know. But yeah, I thought the sad thing was though, because obviously this documentary was released a few months ago on Discovery Plus.
Yeah.
Debbie actually only died last year.
Wait, what? She
yeah.
died?
Yeah, so Debbie, that's why the documentary was released with her interview on it, because she died. Because at the end of the actual documentary, it says in love and memory of Debbie.
Dedicated it to her.
I
Yeah.
did not even see that because
And it was
that I saw it years before, and they never. I mean, obviously they didn't have anything before that, but I had no idea that she passed away.
Yeah, I can't quite remember when, but because I thought it was quite shocking that at the end how close her death was to the release of it on Discovery Plus. It was almost like a month later it was released.
Wow.
And even to her death, she still defended Arne and said it wasn't him, which is crazy. I thought like.
Unless you were there and you were in his mind, you're not going to know.
But I think what's big for him is the fact that Ed and Lorraine Warren were defending him. Like,
yeah, and
they saved him from being convicted of murder, I think.
Wasn't there another case?
Sorry, Kerry. Go ahead, Kerry.
I was just saying, Ed and Lorraine Warren, they actually found another case, didn't they, at the time as well, of the two girls, was it, that were killed in the woods? Did you see that on your part of the documentary, or was that just the film that I saw it in?
No, I know what you
mean.
Because they were saying that the devil was linked in their case too in another part of America.
Right.
Oh, that,
yeah.
I remember that film, but I'm not sure if they had any actual connection to the Brookfield case.
But they did. Yeah, they were. I'm sure. They
did quite a few cases. I mean, that's pretty much what they were known for.
Yeah.
Exorcisms and things like that.
And this is when obviously The Exorcist was coming out in cinemas, and this is all. It was all starting to like gather pace and stuff, and this attracted like worldwide media attention across the world. Like,
right.
And every paper they were saying like the devil is on trial, like, and it was the first ever case of putting the devil as such on trial.
Right.
So obviously, it got thrown out of court.
Is it
like,
written in law now that they can't? You can't.
You can't because it's a you cannot prove.
Right. There's no substantial evidence that can convict anybody for that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's an infeasible defense. You cannot use it as defense.
But what if that is your only defense?
Well, you end up doing 5 years by the looks of it.
Get off easy. Then your head looks like a nut with a smirk on your face.
Oh my god!
No, a face that says you got away with murder.
I mean, yeah, it's obviously the case of like he could have got away with it. He could have just played the whole thing.
He looks shady, if I'm honest.
Maybe, but why would you just stab someone to death randomly, like over just an argument or something silly? It's nothing, even anything.
No.
Well, I mean, that stuff happens all the time. I mean, you don't necessarily hear about it on this level, but people just, all of a sudden this person, they were really, really drunk, which is the number one contributor to somebody snapping. Yeah. If they've already got anger issues, they got a pocket knife and they've got, a bunch of alcohol in their system. It's a recipe for murder, literally.
Yeah, true, yeah.
I mean, it's just like, and it's not even just, like just simple alcohol. Of course, drugs can play a role in it. I mean, it's like anything that's not normal, like let's say like normal for lack of a better term, like for the normal human mind and system, there's a good possibility it can make a contribution to commit a violent act such as murder.
Especially like some of the really hard drugs that make you hallucinate. So you're killing somebody that you think is like a monster because that's what you see. Then you kill that person. And then when you finally come down after you've been in the hospital and everything, you don't remember anything.
Yeah, true.
Then you could just say, yeah, the devil made me do it. Well, no, all the DMT and all the mushrooms you ate made you do it. You know what I mean? I mean,
also just remember then as well, like when the knife was left outside when he ran. Yeah. The police that took photos of the knife and obviously said that it was glowing, like the knife glowed. And even on the photos that you will see, they took the photos of the knife. I don't know if I can find one. I'll try and find one. It does look like it is glowing, and this is at night as well. Like it shouldn't be glowing like that. Right. And even the police said that that's not. It wasn't normal. It shouldn't happen, and they testified that in court as well. The police officer that took the photos.
So maybe then, if more things like that was like kind of supernatural, like you saying the levitating. The knife was glowing. Maybe if there was more stuff, then maybe it's more plausible that there was supernatural stuff.
It's been like 5 years.
But you can't base it on those two things.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try and find a picture now. But I think because there's such a lot of evidence weighing in his favor, obviously with the possession of the boy and stuff.
You're right. Yeah.
Past though.
Yeah, but the lead up to it, and it's all documented through the church and everything from the exorcisms, and it was.
But that's the boy, not really him.
But then, like you say, he challenged it, and Ed and Lorraine Warren saying that he challenged it and he invited it into himself.
Yeah, but everyone challenges things throughout their life.
It's difficult, and you can prove the possession, obviously, with the audio recordings and stuff they've got there, and what happened, the documented what happened. That does technically kind of prove the possession.
Right.
Yes,
but it's proving, did it switch to the...
Exactly.
Right.
The guy.
Now, I actually want to share something to you guys. This is actually a video. I don't know if Tom, Amy, I don't know if you guys have this link. It's an interview of Ed and Lorraine Warren talking about the Brookfield case. Do you have that link, or do you want me to show it?
You can show it if you want.
You can show it, or send it in the chat, or wherever.
I'm not gonna show the whole thing because it's like 8 minutes long. But just to give a primary example of what they said. About the case, and they're actually interviewed by their son-in-law Tony Spera. So I got the link right here. So give me a second, and you guys can see that, right?
Yeah. Sorry, 2 seconds. I'll drop into the chat the thing there. Yeah, there you go. I'm still trying to find this knife.
Just can't hear it.
Welcome to Secrets of the Supernatural. I'm your moderator, Tony Spera, along with
Sorry, it's kind of grainy.
And Lorraine Warren. Tonight, we're going to speak of a fascinating case that happened right here in Connecticut, the Brookfield demon murder case, which was also made into a book that we have here, and also made into a movie of the week called The Demon Murder Case.
There was also a movie,
what I'd like to do is
a different one.
If I could, with you, Lorraine. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got involved in this case right from the start?
We were contacted by Father Dennis, who at that time was pastor of St. Joseph's Church in Brookfield, Tony. And the call came in, and he spoke about a young boy who he had been trying to help, but recognized it as a case of possession. He told me
it's going to show maybe the first 3 or 4 minutes, no, 3 minutes at least.
Because he had been assigned by the bishop to exercise another home, but this was not of an individual now, of a home that had infestation going on that we investigated. But he said, I want you to know that you have my prayers. At that time, he was going to Ireland with his mom, and he was concerned, I think, that the devil would get back at him maybe through his mother. Now, he spoke of David and David's problems. He said that David had a slight learning disability. But there was very bizarre behavior occurring to this young 11-year-old boy. When he mentioned about the boy's problem with a learning disability, we had contacted a doctor in Trumbull, Dr. Jim Grasso, and asked him if he would be willing to go to the home with us that night. It was a real hot night, Tony. And the reason we asked Dr. Jim Grasso was because he too had a son with a similar problem. And we felt that if it were type of medication, maybe that David would be on that might have been causing it, that he would recognize that that was not the case. David's case was not severe enough to have any type of medication. David was in the very beginning stages of demonic possession.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the house this hot night. I can remember like the steam and the moisture coming off the ground. It was a weird night when we arrived there. First, Ed tripped going up the steps into the house. And Dr. Gingrasso made kind of a laughing comment. And he tripped and fell too. And when we got in the house, we were sitting there at the table talking. Now you would watch David and he would be doodling, drawing or something like that. And he'd be concentrating on what he was doing. And then he would look up and it was no longer a little 11-year-old boy.
Now this 11-year-old boy would become extremely strong. I've seen nights when it would take 4 and 5 men to hold him down. He would be ranting and raving and yelling. There was times when he would attack his mother. Now this boy loved his mother. He loved his father. And at one time he actually broke the mother's nose, I believe. Arne Johnson, who was a young man that was engaged to his sister, Debbie, would help every night to control the boy. He'd come home from work as a landscaper, worked very hard, and he'd have his supper, lay down, but then just around 11 o'clock was when this would occur to David. As Lorraine said, all of a sudden, you look at him, he was normal. The next second, it wasn't David anymore. And this would go on until the sun came up.
You guys want me to pause here? Because I don't want to take over most of the rest of the time.
Yeah. It just shows you that, like, seeing that, what they're saying.
More to it. I mean, if we had a little bit more time, I'd show the rest of it, but there's just a lot. So
it just shows, like when you watch it, like, guys, obviously you get these interviews as well in that documentary on Discovery Plus, and what they're saying is, like, these they laid their reputation on the line with this. Like, they didn't need to get involved whatsoever. They could have literally let it go to court as a murder case, and they didn't have to have anything to do with it. But they defended him as Ed and Lorraine Warren. Like, if he had been done for murder and the whole thing thrown out of court saying that he's lied and everything, they would never have been able to do anything ever again. It would have ruined him completely, which is why I thought crazy about it. But
and the one thing I forgot to bring up, as you heard also in the earlier part of the interview, they said that there was a movie. I forgot to mention, like when we were talking earlier about how there have been several movies that were made about this case. There, at the same time, shortly after the murder, 2 years after the whole murder case ended, in '93, they made a television movie on the case. Now, I haven't seen the movie yet, but it gained that much notoriety, like some of these other haunted house murder cases. It became a film eventually, which fortunately, if you guys have interest, you can actually find the full film on YouTube. So it's available on YouTube for you guys to check out.
Nick,
He's gone.
Nick, you there?
Nick's gone. Hefty.
Is he back?
I think so.
I don't
Hello,
know.
Nick.
Anyway, no.
I'm not sure what it looks like on your screen, but I can't see any of his facial
Am I having
features.
No, I can't. It's like a glow.
He's like an
I mean,
egg.
it's fitting for the show, but it's just really weird to watch that.
Oh, yeah, I've gone. Yeah, I've gone. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I mean, obviously, you guys can make your own mind up about it, but I don't know.
I'm more
I don't
on
know.
the side that it's just murder, to be honest.
I'm on the side it is murder. He should definitely have gone down for murder. However, I do think that
There's probably something to play with it.
there's something playing into that. But then,
My connection.
you're all right, buddy. Don't worry. Could it be a case of he's turned into a sugar cube?
Sugar cube.
It's not what I want.
Brilliant.
But yeah, then couldn't it be just a case for every single murder that it takes place, or these serial killers? Could they all just then start coming forward and saying, "Yeah, it's demonic possession. It's possession." I do.
Yeah.
Sorry. Everyone says, "I would also blame that she would kill me anyway." Yeah, yeah, that is true. I wouldn't even breathe that. Jesus Christ. But I strongly think that
almost there, Adam.
a lot of like murders or like these crimes, I do think that demons can have a lot to do with it. Although maybe so subtly as in
they say
it
like, takes time.
Yeah, and they say that it just takes they say that the devil whispers in your ear and it makes you do something. Like it could be something as subtle as that, like it puts you onto that path. But then we are also, like you can say, we're all responsible for our own actions. So it's a difficult one, isn't it? You can't prove it either way, really. You can't prove were they possessed or were they not. It's but that's my opinion anyway. I don't know what you guys think to it. I mean,
that's the thing with the paranormal field alone. No matter if it's the devil, if it's just you're talking to spirits.
It's hard to tell. I mean,
you can't physically prove anything. Yeah, you can hear voices. I use flashlights. Kerry, you're the medium. You can't. It's not like Kerry, when you do your readings and you're doing a reading for somebody, and you just can't have their grandmother come and sit next to you and go, "Here she is."
My job a lot easier.
Right. But it's so hard to physically prove anything, through all the paranormal.
Yeah. And it's like when Kerry's saying her things, we can't see that.
Right.
Only you can see that. Only you can hear that.
Right.
And that's what makes it so hard. It is so hard. Like it must be frustrating for you as well, Kerry, I can imagine, because you can see and hear it and everything, and nobody else can. Or like us normal folk like us, we can't.
Yeah, I forget that you guys don't see and hear at times. And like my husband always says to me, "Kerry, you need to explain that a bit better because I can't do that." And I'm like, "Oh, right. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So I'm getting this feeling." And a lot of the time it's feelings too with rooms, people, objects. It depends what I'm working with. But yeah, it frustrating. No, I find it difficult putting it into words, if that makes sense. Like getting what I'm seeing, feeling and hearing out of my mouth for people to understand. That's where I find the frustrating part.
I can imagine,
it's very tough.
Maybe it sometimes is a gift to share, but also you're not supposed to share too much. I mean, that's why it is difficult for you to share.
Gifted for you, for only you, maybe.
Yeah, there's been times like that, yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, good to see you there, Hefty. We'll also be doing the trivia in a bit. I don't know, what do you think, Nick? What do you think it, obviously, you know more about it than us. Do you think it's murder, or would you say it's possession?
See, a lot of that is so controversial because it's been repeat. Like I said, even before this whole case occurred, it's been like going on for, I've even came across some cases like that from even over a century ago. So this is something that's kind of been going on for 100 years, if not even the last couple centuries. And, especially even with what we got nowadays, I'm not talking just, modern technology, with so many people becoming more accepted to the paranormal and hearing about all these murder cases that eventually become kind of associated with that. It's really hard to really tell if they're actually telling the truth or not, or just making an excuse. I heard of there was one case I remember hearing I think it was like 20 years ago. There was it was a horrific murder of a teenage girl. I think murdered another teenage girl because actually I can give two examples. There's that one. She murdered her friend because I think she was getting more popular in high school or something, and she didn't get as much attention. So I think she was jealous. But then she later was telling that she claimed she started seeing her friend's ghosts, right after the murder. Now, that's one example, again, where they try to put the paranormal in it. And yes, Adam just put the other one down. Then perhaps one of the other most notorious cases is the attempted Slender Man killings. The two 12-year-olds.
Which literally Hefty just said that in chat as well.
that's why I said I was just about to get to that. The other thing too about that attempted murder, because you have to remember, since I live up in Chicago and I'm only an hour away from the northern Illinois-Wisconsin border, that attempted murder occurred probably just about 2 hours away from where I live. So it's pretty unsettling. But yeah, you had those two 12-year-old girls take their friend out to the woods, and there's no telling what's going on in this poor kid's mind. And they start stabbing her repeatedly. And it was later found out that they were huge fans of Slender Man, and that they were hoping that if they killed her, that they would become Slender Man's proxies, his servants, which is, from as far as I know, I mean, Slender Man, I always want to try to make it clear. Slender Man is a very popular creepypasta character, but he is in no way, any shape or form, have any real existence to the real world. It's a made up character.
Made up, yeah.
There's
I do think
for Kerry.
Yeah, I just before I forget, because my bloody memory's like, I do think that the lines between obviously outside influence, like mental disorders, and all those things, and possession are all very blurred. Like differentiating between them all is extremely difficult, and it can be a combination of all of them. I think that there's so much stuff that influences people. Like every day, like we are influenced repeatedly from the media, from games we play and stuff like that. And it's been proven in, if you guys watch Darren Brown, he's proven that he can use media influence to make people commit crimes that never would. There's a famous one he did. It was the bank job or something he got. He convinced normal everyday people to rob security vans that carry cash,
and also to push them off of
and to commit murder as well. He convinced them to do it.
Yeah, and they did
through just
manipulation of the mind.
Manipulating them like through the media and stuff like that, and made them do it. So it's proven that it can work.
There's another note.
There's another note to add, actually, quickly. About how we view crimes associated with such paranormal, like with the paranormal sometimes, in this case, demonic cases. And this is still something that we still really don't understand, because, like how I said, this has been going on for centuries. I mean, if you look at some of the images, like from the Dark Ages, there's like only fragments and pieces of that stuff, and there's just not much of it. Everything else has been completely destroyed, and that was mainly due to Christian belief. They said that early Christian cultures believed that demons, devils, Satan, evil spirits actually lived in the images themselves, and they acted out as gateways between their realms, and that there was further belief that these entities could actually take possession of those who saw the images and make them do terrible things. I mean, there were even further beliefs that these entities could actually abduct the viewer through the image. I mean, we don't know that. Obviously, we don't know if that's true either, but they even said that children exposed to the images were especially vulnerable to these, powers of these images, which drive them to commit these horrific crimes. But again, I don't know if any of that is to be true. It may be a belief, but we don't know if that actually could be true.
Yeah, exactly. So sorry, Chantel's got a question for you, Kerry. She says, Kerry, if you get a feeling or someone comes through or a message, would you approach a random stranger if you believe a message is for them?
Good question.
Or have you done it, maybe?
What I try to do is, it doesn't happen often, but what I try to do is, say, for example, I don't know, like I'm in a shop or something, I try to strike up a conversation and put the message in the conversation. So I might not say, oh, I've got your dad here, and he's saying, like, thank you very much for taking the dog out, or whatever it was, that the message is. I'll try and somehow put it in normal conversation so that person gets the message to them. Because put it this way, like, I talk to the dead, and there's not everybody can accept that.
We'll get a bit freaked out, like.
Yeah. And also what I find as well, I try to shut it all down as well when I'm going out and about, especially in places like are busy, because you are going to just pick up Tom, Dick and Harry all the time going, and it's got to be an off time sort of thing.
And I suppose like if I was shopping and you come up to me and said something like, I think you're a nutter or something, I'm like, who the hell is this? Jesus.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Ed, for Sunday.
Yes, happy birthday, Ed, for Sunday. Hope you have an awesome time. Obviously, you won't be with Hefty, but I'm sure you'll have a good time still. Chantal also had a good point there as well. She said that if you can plead insanity and get a lesser sentence, does that not validate in theory that using the devil is a viable, as a defense is viable? I suppose it does.
I think they're almost kind of like hand in hand. It's almost like the same thing, really.
It's crazy, isn't it? I suppose, yeah. But do you have to prove it? I suppose you would have to. But then if you're a serial killer, it's not hard to prove that you're insane, is it really?
Yeah.
Just look at what you've done.
Look at my handiwork.
Yeah, exactly. My portfolio.
If I could add just one more. If I could add just one more note,
go for it.
For the demon murder case, for like the aftermath of it. I mean, other than the haunting documentary that they made in 2005, although they didn't really talk about the murder, they just talked about the demonic possession part. It's still amazing that 40 years later, no one really knows exactly if they are telling the truth, because other than the documentary, Arne Johnson has not been heard of since 2005, and David especially has not come forward since that whole case. The last update they had for David was when they interviewed. It was that same interview of Ed and Lorraine Warren that a few years later, I think by around his late teens, early 20s, he got married. So that was really the last update they ever. So no one's ever heard from him since. So he's not come forward since the whole case occurred.
Well, at that point, I mean, after everything that went down, especially if it was a demonic possession case, I mean, they went through enough. And especially with the way media and stuff is now, like they just want to live a normal life. They just want to be left alone. Because I mean, let's say they did come forward and started doing these interviews. You got people camping on your front lawn, people knocking at your door, following you around. Like nobody wants that. I mean, especially if you did actually go through all that. Like you don't need that.
He's probably changed his entire identity, so that's why you probably don't hear anything from him.
Yeah,
makes
One
sense.
thing I will say is obviously you had to keep that story going, as in the same story. You couldn't change it,
Yeah, no point did his story ever fall apart. And same with Debbie, and she took that to her grave.
Yep.
She married him, and she always said that he was innocent. You watch it, and she in the interview there, she goes to get quite upset because she never wanted it to happen.
I was just about to say, you watch the interview, she's upset, and you could still see that even 25 years later, she was still very distraught over what happened. Again, they didn't talk about the murder part, but you could still see the stress in her eyes that
probably
freaking arsehole. Anyway, you watch it and you're upset. The poor lady's passed away, and you're saying she put drops in her face, she's crying.
They do it for models.
I'm getting a message, Amy. I'm getting a message.
Yeah.
She's going like this, Amy.
Before we start the trivia, Jeff had a good point as well. I totally agree with him. I can't say that word, so the age will usher in a new understanding of the supernatural, and I reckon that is true. I think it is coming. Everything that obviously with the UFOs that's being done and what we're doing with the supernatural, I think it is coming to a point where we're going to learn a lot more, and it's going to really open the door to a lot of stuff. Maybe that's good. I don't know. Maybe not. Chantal says, thanks, Kerry. Actually, the voices made me do it. Could be a valid excuse for you decided to commit a crime. Yeah, true. Pretty good. All right, we'll get into the trivia. Hefty, I hope you're still in there, buddy.
Psychedelic.
Yeah.
New psychedelic.
New psychedelic. Oh, okay, that's all right. I can say that. I couldn't say the other one would use it.
Word.
That's what I was thinking. I didn't even want to attempt it, so I didn't embarrass myself. Yeah, obviously, this is where we get into the questions. Before we do them, again, thank you everybody for joining us in the chat. Yes, they're good. It's been an awesome show tonight. Obviously, you guys, thank you so much for joining us again. Obviously, it's not a show without you lot, so you do make the show for us. If it's just me and Amy, you just hear us arguing for the whole hour.
So it's like us with the Marco Polos. That's all it is. It just be like a Marco Polo session.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so this is where we get into the chat. Oh, do you want to do something first?
Oh yes. Please visit Kerry's site on Etsy and get your cards.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, Kerry. Mine are out in the other room.
Oh, you
I do have them. They're out in the other room.
Right. No, please do, guys.
They're
Check out their Etsy shop. They are very, very good cards.
They're really nice. And
Very well made.
I really like
beautiful.
the round feature.
Right, they are beautiful. And obviously, what I like as well, Kerry, like obviously the little bit of the how to do it.
Oh, my little instructions.
Little instructions. That for me, that's brilliant because you can Google how do you use tarot cards. You get millions of things, but this is really simple and it
There
makes
you go.
Thank my husband. Because it was again him going, us lot that don't know what we're doing need to know this. I'm like, oh yeah.
So thank you, Dave. Dave, for listening. Thank you.
Also,
Well done, Marty.
it's actually Kerry's little touch. It's actually her artwork on the back of the card, which I did not know.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, they are fantastic cards. Yeah, and even for people like me, I don't really do the tarot stuff, but I really like them, and I certainly recommend people buying them, definitely. But yeah,
it's like a good little starter.
Yeah, I do think so. Yeah, you don't want to start with, like my cards that are like
demonic
and stuff. Anyway,
Amy, keep them away from his ones.
I haven't actually found. I don't even know where they are. I'm gonna have to drag them out at some point again, do some more readings of myself.
Bloody hell out of all of us.
It even came with like a PDF you could download that taught you how to do like rituals and stuff, which I thought was a bit extreme. I started reading it, and some of these rituals are quite extreme.
Actually,
so I'll probably put some like terrorist cards or something.
And there's actually a demon named Amy.
Yeah, there is. There's a demon. It's called Amy. Yeah, that's true. Well, I live with her, so.
Man, I knew that was coming. That was a pure setup. That's what that was. I was waiting for that.
I'm like your devil on one side.
I knew I was going to say that. He was going to say that at some point.
Anyway, so we get into the questions. The first one is, which I thought was quite fitting. This is the first one I pulled out. It says, in total, how many people were killed by the world's most prolific serial killer?
A lot.
Known serial killer.
A lot.
How many people were killed by
Dr. Shipman, wasn't it? What's his name? Dr. Shipman.
600.
600.
That's a lot.
I would say you're in the 1,000. I'd go like.
Well, no, I'm actually thinking of. I'm thinking of.
Believe in the mansions.
I don't know. 450.
450. Ed says 94. Tui says
107.
Pop it in the chat.
130, 54.
I'm gonna say 1,000.
We'll say 80.
80. I'm gonna go. And Hef says 70. I'm gonna go really like out there and say, well, isn't Hitler technically a serial killer? And I'm gonna go
thinking that though, but that's like mass murder.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with him. I don't know however million he killed, but
no, you got to give an answer.
10 million.
Yeah, I mean, it was killed by multiple people, so you have to remember that he's not entirely just really a serial killer. But see, I say 600 because of Elizabeth Bathory, the Blood Countess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
so. Yeah, I think we got that. Just get them all. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Up, Howard.
Right, so it is. What did you say, Kerry?
450.
But who did you say?
Oh, Harold Shipman.
Bang on.
Oh my God.
Bang on.
I know serial killers.
The UK police. He killed at least 215 people over a 23-year period. Wow. And I'm sure it doesn't Zach own his van or something that he had. He used.
I think so, actually.
Or is that something I'm thinking of totally
That's
different?
somebody else, that is.
Another doctor.
Yeah, I think that's in America, that one. He's English and he's just general GP, I think.
Yeah, 215 people he killed over 23 years.
No psychic powers, Kerry.
And he had others do his do it. Yeah, true, Hefty, he did.
My TV's just turned on.
That's your psychic powers. They're making things turn on around you.
So I don't even know why you have a remote. You just look at the TV and it turns on.
Yes,
Oh, okay. This is quite. Anyway, I'll just go on. In the 2016 EU referendum, so the EU vote in the UK, how many people voted for the UK to both remain and leave? How many people in the UK voted for us to stay in it and leave it? Because you can.
Yeah, quite a few. From what I remember.
Work on the number of toilets I'll destroy at Fear Fest in September. Guys, when you get to know Howard more, you're going to hear a lot of that out of Howard.
Reference.
Yeah.
He's the aquatic entity hunter.
Jesus Christ.
Wait, is it percentage?
No, how many people? Just in numbers. I've seen the answer, so I can't say.
5 million.
5 million?
Does it?
I'm going to say...
Oh, yeah.
1,000.
1,000 people? Out of how many people in the UK? About 6 million?
Yeah.
It was quite a few, but I don't know.
There's 6 in the UK. Okay, I'm just thinking England.
Yeah.
So in the UK, 6 billion.
Because we all had to vote. Because we all.
Yeah.
How many is it? Because obviously we had to do all the vaccination, didn't we? So it was.
No, I'm not talking about vaccination. I'm talking about leaving the EU.
I'm working out how many people are in the UK. And
don't think too hard about it. You're not going to get the answer right.
Right, that's it, Amy. You're going to do it. Come on.
No.
What was the question again?
I'm going to punch you.
I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know.
I can see your brain steaming.
Oh, God, dude.
Man. Yeah, it keeps. You boys need to talk to
live. Like,
okay?
I know. I'm staying out of it. I'm just going to watch.
I'm just going to say this. No comments.
Yeah. You need to learn from Nick.
I'm and Georgie sharing the case. Like, yeah, definitely think Heft. You can say 5 million. I don't think anyone's really going to get it. But anyway, it is
1 million.
9,084 apparently.
Okay.
Wow.
No.
1,000.
Yeah, I think Amy was probably the closest. She said
I'd say so.
Yeah.
If you didn't get it right.
She was.
If you're on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you'll be going home.
Do you want this?
Yeah. Give it to him.
Smell the cheese.
Smell the cheese.
Marty, are you staying out of this too?
That's why I muted my mic.
Okay, so we'll go with 2 more. There's a couple more. In the UK, what is the furthest distance that you can ever be away from the sea in miles?
Dave tells me this all the time and I forget.
What's the furthest distance you can ever be away from the sea in miles in the UK?
You're like in the middle, like you're in the middle of the UK.
Which is pretty much where we are.
Yeah. So how far away from the?
It's only like 50 miles.
Yeah, as I say, it's quite not a lot, is it?
72.
72.
I'm just gonna have to go.
Hefty, you should be encouraging her.
I just can't go 100.
100.
305, definitely not right.
75, I'm gonna say.
75.
It's like between.
Tui says 300.
It's like between 45 and like 55, 60. It's nothing more than that. So probably I'm gonna go like.
Well, I don't know. How far is it to my dad's?
I'll go 45.
209.60. Yeah, it's definitely below 300.
I'm gonna go 45.
Yeah, but how far are you from the seaside where you live?
I don't know.
How far your dad lives? How far do you live?
I don't know. Oh, he lives from the sea. He's pretty much, you can see it.
Yeah, you're going the wrong way. You need to go out that way.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to. I'm going to skeggy. Oh.
No, Tom, that's it. Look how the answer. You 45. Just.
I don't know. I don't know. I just said 50.
Right.
380,000. Oh, I wish it was. Probably in America. Yeah.
But, yeah, definitely not.
380,000.
Wow.
1 million miles.
That's the answer.
What did you say, Kerry?
75, I think.
Somebody said 70, didn't they?
I said 72.
Yeah, that was who said 72.
Very good, Marty. It was 70 miles.
There you go.
Wow.
70. You don't even live in the UK, and you're better than us.
God, I took a shot in the dark. Okay. Oh
God! All right, we'll go. What we got?
One more. Make it a good one.
Well, they're two good ones, really.
All right, we'll do both of them.
The quickest one. What happens if you cut an earthworm in half?
It grows.
It grows.
Well,
Yeah.
it dies.
It turns into two.
It dies.
It
dies.
It does.
It's a myth. It doesn't grow.
It doesn't grow. It dies.
Which is the one that grows? Is it a lizard? Tail grows back.
A lot of people think it does keep living, but it doesn't. I'm pretty sure it dies.
It dies.
Yeah.
Is that the answer, though?
I thought it turned into two.
I thought it was.
If you cut it in half, it turns into two earthworms.
I thought it just grows.
I thought the first half.
Again, I
I
think that's
thought the
probably
actual head part still lives.
So, I'm gonna say, so some are saying living, some are saying dying. You have two halves of a worm. Oh, yeah, true, Jeff. That's pretty accurate.
Two dead worms.
You have bait for your fishing friend. Yeah, true.
Right, maybe it dies then.
Okay, then.
Is that all right? It grows.
Well, I'm going to take back everything I just said. Yes.
Yes.
Depends if it's after or before poop. It says the head of the worm may survive and generate another tail, but the back half will die. It will not become two worms.
My life is a lie.
It's like cutting your legs off and then your leg turn into a
But
stump.
it's the same with the lizard. If you catch a lizard by its tail, the tail falls off and then it grows another tail.
Yeah, but we're talking about worms, not
No,
lizards.
but I was trying to. It's the same kind of like principle because the head still lives.
This has got legs. Anyway, right. Very quick last one. During World War One, the Germans ran out of cotton, so made their uniforms out of what? Cannabis, nettles, velour or silk.
Nettles.
I hope it's the cannabis answer.
Cannabis, nettles, velour or silk. If it's nettles, that's gonna be your uniform made out of nettles.
Nettle knickers, eh? Oh.
Nettle soup, right?
Hefty was half right. You was half right, Hefty.
Yeah, I think it was silk that they made it out of.
Silk's too expensive.
Silk be too expensive, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, back then it
Cannabis.
would have been
As says
expensive.
hemp.
Go naked in the nettles.
Yeah. I'm gonna go hemp. I think it is hemp. Two says villa. Is it villa or vella? I don't know how to even say that. Villa.
That other word you said. What?
Yeah.
The other word you said. Yeah, Chantel. Yeah, that one.
Whatever that is.
It is, because we are running out of time, it is nettles.
Yes!
Stinging nettles.
Three answers. And who was the stupid one tonight?
Wow. I can't wait to see the Marco Polos after this.
Oh my god. All right, anyway, we have run out of time.
I crushed it. You crushed it, Kirsty, thank you.
Made out of nettles, that's crazy. What are nettles? Do you guys not have nettles?
Yeah, of course you got nettles.
Oh, yeah, needles.
And duck leaves.
Yeah.
What's a nettle?
They sting your bum if you sit on them.
It's the plants, the weeds that sting you when you touch them.
We have thistle.
No.
No. They're like green.
They're green. It's just a green plant. And it has no spikes on it, but if you touch it, it stings it and it leaves a rash on it.
Right
and it
next
hurts.
to it, it has an antidote. It has a dock leaf. So you rub a dock leaf where you've stung yourself.
So no wonder they didn't even know what we're on about. No wonder they all said cannabis. They didn't even know what nettle is.
I believe what they used to do with nettles was they used to boil them, which stops it from stinging.
Yeah, you can nettle soup or something, can't you?
I'll take a picture of a nettle and drop it on the chat for you guys so you know what nettle is.
You do not want to be wearing it. So I don't know who came up with that idea. It was a
Whoever came up with it was an idiot.
Yeah, it sounds like thistle. We have thistleweed here. It doesn't get very big. It gets about this big, but you have to grab it by where the ground is. If you grab it by the leaves or anywhere at the top, your hands will all of a sudden start stinging, and it just.
Yeah.
So we have a thistle as well, but a thistle is like it's got like a flower that has spikes on it. That's a thistle to us.
Yeah, this one doesn't have spikes. The only reason I found out about it is my buddy gave me some mulch for my garden, and he didn't tell me that the thistle would grow out of it. So I'm pulling weeds with my bare hands. just pulling these things out, and my hand started stinging. And I called him, and he started laughing at me because he did it on purpose.
Yeah, that is a no. Yeah.
Do you have a leaf that comes with it that actually heals it? Because we have one that has it's called a dock leaf. And
I mean, it's possible, but he didn't tell me about it. Probably on purpose.
Like poison ivy, anyway. Yeah, it could be like pee on it. Yeah, that does actually work.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah, you piss on it, it does work. I did it as a kid.
With jellyfish. You get stung by a jellyfish. You're supposed to do that.
Yeah, with jellyfish things, that actually has been debunked. You don't pee on jellyfish things.
I got stung by a jellyfish.
Put lemon juice on
That
it.
makes it worse, actually.
I got stung by jellyfish when I was 7. I still have the scar now.
I'd rather deal with the pain rather than being pissed on. So
Yeah.
Pee on me. If I get stuck, pee on me. I'm a win.
What the hell is this conversation?
Take it, Kerry, take it.
Oh my god. This
Four
is
different meaning to golden shower.
Oh my god. Anyway, we're gonna go now.
Yeah. I just have a quick announcement, just to make, because obviously you guys are very much aware about my childhood is a lie. Thanks, Nick.
See?
So obviously, as you guys know, Marty, especially, I know you were like, I now have a new show that I do every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. PST. Yeah, for those that don't know, I now have another show. It's my 4th show I host, but this is the first one that I'm hosting independently. But unlike the other shows that I do, including this one, this is not a paranormal talk show. It's a survival horror gameplay series, and it's called Nights of Gameplay Terror. Again, we do it on Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. CST. We go on for about an hour and a half. I'm sure we'll be going on for 2 hours at times. Currently, I guess the next update is we started off with the game Doom 3. Now, I got a feeling that we'll be playing for a couple parts because it's a very long and pretty scary game. So we'll be continuing on with part 2 of Doom 3. And then at some point, as I also said too, I'm also going to be doing a few multiplayer episodes where I actually will have some guests come on. So if any of you guys happen to have a Steam account, have to have any of these multiplayer games, and if I happen to be playing that night, you want to come on and play and be part of the show, just let me know. But I got a Steam account if you want to connect.
Definitely.
And you need to watch Nick scream like a girl.
Yeah. And Nick, we will. If you send us the links, Nick, we will put it in the description below for everyone to, obviously, if you can get to it as well. So we will drop it in, or Amy will while I'm sleeping.
Amy, I have not screamed yet. At least not yet.
I didn't see him scream while I was watching. So
well, I mean, I did briefly, but it wasn't like I was like horrified.
Right.
No, sorry, I can't read and do one thing. I have to do one thing or the other. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, guys, check out definitely Nick on Wednesday. We will put it in the description below, and we will try. If I remember Nick, I will try and get it advertised tomorrow on our Instagram account here and get it out there.
What's going on for next Friday, by the way? What are we doing for next Friday?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, next Friday. We're going to be a totally different location. I am going to be down at my dad's, so we are going to try and get it working. I'm praying it's going to work. Through Amy's iPad.
Yeah.
But we'll be down at my dad's. But we have got Mr. Mike Ricksecker back on next week.
Yeah.
He's just come back from Egypt. We are going to be talking the Egyptian pyramids and the stuff that he saw there, and it's going to be our ancient mysteries.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a really good show next week. So guys, please do not miss it. It's going to be brilliant.
Yeah. And great. And we got more guests that will be coming.
I need to read this stuff. I need to catch up. Amy's the boss. No, she's not.
Like you, Kerry.
Wait a minute, Chantel. You say my time zone is done. I mean, it's dumb. So if it's 8 p.m. over here, what time is it out in South Africa then?
Crazy.
Should be 2 in.
Oh, so like same time like in Europe?
It's like 6 hour difference.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, 2-3 in the morning, something like that. Yeah, I'll definitely be sleeping. But I will catch it up. I will catch it today. But yeah, Sorry, I can't. Jesus.
Yeah, he's right.
You guys are messing with me in the chat. I can't read and do this. Anyway, guys, please take it easy. We will see you next Friday for that show. It's going to be awesome. Check out all of the links for everyone below. And obviously, last week we talked about the UFO thing. The image that we put up was not a UFO. It was a lamppost.
It was a lamppost. We'll cover that on the next UFO thing, and I will change my name to Light Post or Lamppost for that show.
So I'm asleep then.
Yeah, guys, take it steady. Been an awesome show tonight, and we'll see you next week. Love you all.
Stay spooky.
Catch you later.